Here is a 4-step guide simplifying academic research of how the current coronavirus pandemic could catapult us a decade or more into a better, greener future. Enjoy the video, I'm Mario Gruber. We all hear about the job losses in the media and about debts and how this might take us a decade to recover from this crisis. But what we don't really talk about is how this crisis is an opportunity for innovation and sustainability like there has never been before, like not even close. Let me explain what I mean. This pandemic has brought almost all of our consumption habits to a complete halt. How firms do business, shipping stuff all over the world from here to there and everywhere. Schools and universities that consume trillions of the economy have suddenly managed to move much of learning online. Companies and businesses and institutions have managed to digitalize at a rapid rate. The things that happened over weeks would have perhaps not happened for over a decade. This right here is the opportunity that we all have to do small things to change the path into the future. In a future where we have much more time for ourselves and our loved ones, and where we don't waste thousands of dollars a year on inefficient systems. Under normal circumstances, change is extremely slow, like painfully slow. We'd have to change our consumption habits, but we're not really doing that. Businesses aren't going to change. I mean, they're going to lose money, right? Politicians, when I talk to them, they're often aware that some of these investments into sustainability have a tenfold increase return for society, but the problem is they usually don't have the courage, and they just always worry about the budget. Budget. I just want you to understand how rare and how extremely valuable such an opportunity actually is. I mean, famines and protests all around the world barely even change how businesses and politics act on climate change. And school shootings, for hell's sake, school shootings don't even lead to any gun law reforms when the system is too locked in. However, a war or a pandemic changes everything. And this is the first step in our guide. In the academic literature, this is called a landscape shock. It stopped time. It stopped everything. And for a short window of time, we can start over with a blank sheet of paper. The last time humankind had an opportunity like this one to change things, like in transport, was actually after the Second World War. There were so many people coming back from the war to work. There was so much investment to be made. The US government put into place the Federal Aid Highway Act in the 50s, and it laid the basis for the US becoming so car-dominated, and it laid the basis for the US to a large extent to become that economic powerhouse that it became. And up until today, almost all of the developments in transport are traced back to that one systemic action that was taken back then. So here's the second step in our guide: policy. Governments now have to pour literally trillions, not even billions, but trillions of dollars into the economy to create jobs, but also to create infrastructure. And just like in the past, it led to a golden age over many decades. We can now simply shift things by investing into more sustainable and more efficient energy, jobs, and technologies. 2019 is when climate change and sustainability hit the mainstream, especially with the school protests, Fridays for Future. Now, even when I talk to the most conservative politicians, I always hear the same thing from them. They go, "Yes, Mario, it would now be a very bad look to not do anything green." And indeed, we now see governments investing insane amounts of money into, for example, biking. Just bike lanes. The UK government is investing £250 million. Tel Aviv is talking about doubling its bike lanes. Rome is adding 150 kilometers, and cities are removing parking spaces to make space for bikes. Considering that Amsterdam has a 40% bike rate and the UK only about 2%, you can see that there is a huge amount of potential. And of course, having fewer cars means that we all save thousands of pounds or dollars every year on our car and we are healthier and fitter, we have more space. Here come the final two ingredients of our guide and the combo punches, if you will, of changing the system. Our consumption habits and forcing businesses to change. Now we have a lot of time to reconsider what we truly value in life. And changing our choices right now makes much more of a difference than ever before. Working from home 1 or 2 days a week or having less work in the future will definitely be possible. I mean, New Zealand has already come out with a 4-day work week plan for the country. Google, Facebook, Twitter, they've all announced work from home schemes for at least half of their staff. Now, the electricity and time that saves working from home for a day or two a week is truly incredible. And there could be a future where we just get our work done in 4 days and we have more time to spend with our families. It's definitely possible. There's not a technical reason why it's not possible, but so far this is something that has been blocked by how we've always done things. A recent survey by Ernst & Young showed that over 80% of executives expect a sharp increase in the regionalization of global supply chains and also in the automation of human tasks. Now the time is right to reconsider globalization and to use new technologies, automation to simply produce things cheaper nearby. Governments and companies have recently, in this crisis, made commitments to becoming greener, and usually they have this vision of 2050 to become CO2 emission neutral by 2050. But 30 years from now is too late. We have to be careful to take this a bit more seriously, to not rebound into our old ways because it was comfortable and cheap and because it's hedonistic. Now, for example, is not the time to bail out airlines. Yes, they produce jobs, they are important, that's for sure. But as much as we love flying, it has become too cheap. And these companies, and in your tickets, you are not paying for the damage that is being done to the environment. So things like the airline industry and many other industries just simply have to be reconfigured right now. And then after that we can have jobs and production and consumption, but things are simply smarter. So this has to be done in the right way. Governments and the people in charge have to communicate this correctly. They have to frame issues in the right way. We have to make people understand that this coronavirus had a connection with our unsustainable ways of living. And crucially, you need to then get people, consumers, to really put pressure on certain industries, because without that, politicians don't change and businesses don't change. So this needs to be a social movement that is coordinated towards this direction. When enough people get this message and they change small things about their lives, it creates such incredible pressure for policymakers and businesses, and it always takes an incredible amount of pressure, but it is possible right now. We now have the knowledge of how things changed in the past and what things we need to do. We have much better policy instruments, and we have much better research, and we know that once such a landscape shock occurs, that this is the time that the rules are rewritten, and governments are investing trillions of dollars into the right systems, and businesses have to increase their efficiencies. And right at this moment, the consumers come in and they just about topple over the whole thing, and they force the entire system to move in a different direction. It's very much like a street fight, so when the opponent is off their feet, and then you give these combo punches where the opponent, the old system, can't do anything about it. And at the very end, when they're on the floor and they're weak, you give them the final Hadouken. And it's the consumers that give that final Hadouken and actually transform the system. So what all this means in a nutshell is that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you to choose 1 or 2 or 3 things that you can change about your life. Maybe ditch that car for your bike, or vote in a different way, or become vegetarian. It doesn't really matter. The small things that you do right now have a monumental impact, and they are really going to change the next 1 or 2 generations. So I hope that you do. I hope this is a time that we can come together and go in a different direction, in a better future. And I hope that you share this with your friends and family and talk more about these topics. And if you want to support the project in a deeper way, if you could become a Patreon, I would really appreciate that. So thank you for watching. I'm Mario Gruber. This is Generation Utopia. Thank you.